Hello, and welcome to Senora Tommy's Biblioteca on YouTube. If you haven't already, please subscribe and smack the bell so that you can receive notifications and never miss a video. Today, I am playing around with a new toy that we have. We have a green screen. So we are giving it a shot and seeing how it works out. I might look a little funny in some of the shots. So we'll see what happens. And then, I don't know, we're just gonna have fun with it. So today is officially Nonfiction Wednesday, but I have a bit of a twist, mostly because I have a book that I really wanna share with you guys, but it is fiction. So it is a made up book. It is not a true fact book, but I'm going to be sharing with you a new animal in the Rodriguez household that I also have. So I've shared with you tortoises and cats and dogs and snakes. And so now I have another pet to share with you. So let me tell you about today's book. This is the fiction part of Nonfiction Wednesdays. So today's book is called Stanley's Party, and it is by Linda Bailey. So this is a very funny book. My friend Amy let me borrow it, and it's super funny. So I cannot wait to share it with you. This is our front cover, and here is our back cover, and here is our spine. This one does not have the library information because I borrowed it. So this is not a library book. I'm gonna have to get some Stanley books for our library. Okay, so our inside cover along with our title page. So this is Stanley's Party. Stanley knew he wasn't supposed to sit on the couch, but his family went out a lot and they never came home before midnight. So one night, Stanley began to wonder what would happen if he sat on the couch while they were gone, just for a minute. He put one paw on the couch and waited, and nothing happened. He put a second paw up, and slowly Stanley dragged his whole huge body onto the couch. He sat there nervously, listening, and he waited for someone to yell, "Stanley, off the couch!" But no one said a thing. So Stanley lay down. The couch was more comfortable than he'd ever dreamed, and Stanley stretched out his legs. He put his paws up on the cushions, and he sprawled and squirmed and sniffed the leather trim. The couch was wonderful. All that evening, Stanley lolled and lounged on the couch, and just before midnight, he remembered his people. He straightened the cushions, brushed away the dog's hair, and hopped off the couch. When his people came home, he was waiting at the door. "Good dog, Stanley," they said. "Woo," said Stanley, wagging his tail. Like nothing happened. Stanley felt terribly clever. He was so pleased with himself that the next night he decided to try something new. He had noticed that when his people sat on the couch, they often listened to music. And Stanley had seen how they got it. He pushed some buttons with his nose, and a moment later, music filled the room. Stanley was entranced. His body began to sway, and his feet began to move, and soon Stanley was waltzing around the room. And when the music changed, he tried a cha-cha, and then a tango, and he even did a bit of ballet. Stanley danced up a storm that night, and he didn't stop until just before midnight. And then he turned off the music and tidied the couch. When his people came home, he was sitting on the living room floor. "Good dog," they said to Stanley. "Bark, bark, bark, bark," said Stanley. He is clever. On the third night, Stanley broke into the fridge. It wasn't hard. He just pushed his nose firmly into the rubber seal and the door popped open. There was a lasagna in there that he had been watching for days, and it didn't last long. And after it was gone, Stanley licked the plate clean and he put it in the sink. When his people came home, he was lying in his dog bed. "Good dog, Stanley," they said. "Burp," said Stanley. I think he ate too much lasagna. Stanley could not believe his new life. Now he didn't mind at all when his people went out. And as soon as they left, he sat on the couch and he sashayed and shimmied to the music. He nibbled and noshed from the fridge. I am having so much fun, thought Stanley. But after a couple of weeks, he realized that something was still missing. And one day, when Stanley's people took him to the dog park and he figured it out, he was tired of having fun alone. Stanley trotted over to his best friend, Alice. Hey, how'd you like to come over to my house this evening, said Stanley in dog talk. Well, what for? Asked Alice. We could sit on the couch, said Stanley, put on some music, do a little dancing, maybe have a snack. Sounds great, said Alice. What sounds great? Asked Oscar, coming up to join them. And before Stanley knew it, he had invited Oscar too, and Maybelle, and Digger, and gassy old Jack. Oof. He invited 2 more dogs on the way home, and all the dogs he invited talked to other dogs, and those dogs talked to other dogs, and still those dogs talked to other dogs. That night, right after Stanley's people left, the dogs began to show up. And at first they came in 2s and 3s, and then they arrived in packs. And some of them were Stanley's friends, but a lot of them, well, they were just strangers. Stanley wasn't worried. The more the merrier, he said. It wasn't long before the house was jammed with every kind of dog you can imagine. Shaggy dogs and bald dogs and dogs with wrinkles, dogs with fleas, humongous dogs, weensy dogs, dogs with floppy ears, and they filled the room. They packed the stairs, they floated onto the porch and the lawn. There was drooling dogs and dainty dogs and dogs that needed baths. Lots of dogs. Anyone hungry? Asked Stanley, popping the fridge door open, and dogs poured into the kitchen. Help yourselves, said Stanley, and soon the fridge was bare. Check out their feast. They have spaghetti and muffins and a drumstick. Here's a turkey. Holy tamale. Wow. Anyone care for some music? Asked Stanley, and he put on some rock and roll. And the dogs went wild. They stomped and they boogied, they bebopped and jived. They twisted and jitterbugged and mashed, and they danced until their paws were sore. They danced until the whole house shook. And who do you think danced hardest of all? Stanley. It was the best doggone party a dog ever had. It was also the only night ever that Stanley's people came home early. And at first they didn't say anything. They were probably shocked. And then together, very loud, they said, Stanley, bad dog. And all the dogs, except Stanley, had to go home. And Stanley helped his people clean up. It took 2 whole days. Boy. After that, whenever Stanley's people went out, they took Stanley with them. And Stanley didn't mind because he went out a lot now. And he never came home before midnight. As for the party, well, this all happened a long time ago. But in Stanley's neighborhood, the dogs still talk about that night. And the dogs that were there told other dogs. And those dogs told other dogs. And those dogs told other dogs. And the story spread until dogs all over the country heard it. And then dogs all over the world. And now, wherever dogs gather, even in Timbuktu, they tell the story of Stanley's party. If you don't believe me, ask your dog. So I think this is an incredibly funny story. It does make me wonder though, what are my pets doing when I'm at school? So I'm going to introduce you to one of our other pets here in the Rodriguez household, and her name is Jack. So let me introduce you to another member of the Rodriguez Zoo. This is Jack. Jack is pretty new to our household. I think she's only about 3 or 4 years old. And she came from a family member's house who had a dog that had a whole bunch of puppies. And so this was one of the little puppies that we kind of took from that litter so that they had a place to kind of, have a home of their own or whatever. So this is Jack, and she originally, and I know this sounds funny, but we thought originally that Jack was a boy. So we named Jack. And then when we went to go make sure that she had her surgery to make sure that she doesn't have any babies, right? Because we don't need a whole bunch of more dogs and cats in the world if we don't have to have them, right? Because there's so many of them. So when Jack went to go have her special surgery, the doctor said, hey, did you know that Jack was a girl? And everyone in our family looked at each other and thought, what? And so I know it sounds funny, but at the end of the day, you know, I'm not checking under, you know, Jack's skirt to see if she's a boy or a girl. So anyhow, so Jack is a girl named Jack. Kind of like me, I'm a girl named Tommy. So anyhow, so this is our little Jack. She's super sweet. She is one of the doggies that's allowed inside the house because she is little. And so she will get on the couch with us and hang out and snuggle and that kind of thing. She does not sleep in my bed. We do not sleep with animals in our bed, but she does get to hang out on the couch, and she has her own little special spot that she gets to hang out on. So anyhow, so this is both a combination of nonfiction Wednesday, but kind of fiction because we read Stanley's Party. So yeah, I have one more pet to show and share with you next week, and then we would have gone through all of our pets here in the Rodriguez household. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you later.